Yesterday, I went up to Penn State to attend the. This is really loud, so I apologize. Yesterday, I went up to Penn State and attended the blue-white football game, the spring training game there. As you know, most Collegiate One or NCAA D1A football teams have a spring game. Of course, also in the Big Ten yesterday was the great Urban Meyer and his Ohio State football team. But Penn State's was yesterday, and as you might know by now, I am a huge Penn State fan. So it was a great experience. It was my first ever blue-white game, not my first ever football game, but first ever blue-white game, and got to go to breakfast. Started off the day at breakfast, and got to listen to Bill O'Brien speak and a couple others speak, but most important was Bill O'Brien, and he started off by saying, you're not gonna see much today. There's scouts out there. There's different people out there that they're looking to see what I've got, and I'm not gonna show it to them quite yet. But the other thing too is, people can't really go into these spring training games, especially for both Penn State and Ohio State this year, and some other schools, where you have a whole new coaching staff. You have a whole new offense, a whole new defense, a whole new team. Same players, just a whole new coaching style. And it's unfair to go out there and expect, you know, 80-yard passes for touchdowns every play, or, sacks every play. My thinking here is you can't expect that from a team, even if they are seasoned veteran coaches of the program, even if you're talking about Coach Paterno's 20th year with the program. You can't expect something like that at a spring training game, because you only get about maybe 2-3 weeks of practice, I believe it is, before the game, and nobody's looking to get hurt during these games, even though they have a couple more months until the season actually begins. You don't want anyone getting injured yet. And I think it was vital for him to say that, for O'Brien to say that in the beginning, saying you're not going to see anything huge. Don't expect it. We will show what the players can do. We will show some positives, but we're not going to show you everything. And I think that was important for him to say. It was interesting though to kind of hear what he had to say, hear what he wanted us to hear, rather than, and there was a question and answer session, but rather than anyone asking him specifics, no one really asked him questions. Everyone just kind of said, let him be, let him do his thing. Is that because he's Bill O'Brien of the New England Patriots, or is that because no one knew what to ask him at a moment like this, when there are people still mourning the loss of head coach Joe Paterno? And honestly, Joe Paterno was a great coach. You can't deny that. So, what was everyone holding back for? Well, I think the one thing that everyone's kind of waiting to do is to see what happens in the next couple of months. Again, he's only really been there for a little bit. You can't say, well, you haven't done this yet. You've got to do this. The man has coached before. He knows what he needs to do. And I think it's important that people kind of give him some time to really show us what he can do. And I think that another thing too is, before I get into actually what happened at the game, I think it's important to note that everyone understands that this is a spring game. And sometimes, I don't know how other schools do it. I've never really paid attention to the spring training games because, like he said, they're not going to show you everything. But I don't really know. And if you want to leave some comments, tell me, how does your school do it, or how does your favorite team do it? Do they split the team in half and play a game versus each other? Because that's not how they did it at Penn State this year. They had offense continually playing defense, and had a different scoring system. But this way, you got to see all the different players, and we'll kind of get into that and what I saw, because basically to me it seemed like a scouting opportunity, and if there weren't scouts or other coaches from other schools there, I hope that they would watch this or get tape of it or something, because it's definitely a good scouting opportunity, and I hope that Penn State gets the tapes and everything from other schools as well. Because now I know, just honestly, it looks like an open practice. It's more formal with referees and everything like that, but it's definitely a scouting opportunity, and you need to take it. It's an open practice where you can see what they have good. Even if they don't show you everything, you see what they have, and you can kind of start to say, okay, well, if they can do this, this, and this, let's focus on stopping this, this, and this. Because if you say, oh, if you try to guess what they have good, so let's say, okay, because I'm a Penn State fan, I don't want to reveal too much, even though, like I said, you can probably get your hands on the tapes and everything. But let's say Ohio State in their spring training game, their tailback was able to continually break tackles. Now, granted, the defense probably wasn't trying to tackle too hard, but if they're still breaking tackles, the tailbacks probably aren't trying too hard to break the tackles. They don't want to get hurt. So if they do that, you need to think, okay, well, we need to work on not take we need to not take that as the defense wasn't trying. We need to take that as we need to make sure we stop this tailback. And then when you start to see what he does in real games, if he's not very good at shedding tackles, you'll already have that down, that you're focusing on um on trying to stop him. So that's going to be a lot easier. But going into the game a little bit here, I thought it was interesting to see all the different quarterbacks. Penn State played about five different guys behind center, and I think most notably was, I believe his name was Paul Jones, who couldn't really play last year, and it brings up the interesting question of what will O'Brien do with the quarterback situation. Of course, last year you had the whole going back and forth between Rob Bolden and Matt McGloin up until the end of the season there, when finally McGloin was named the starter. But now you've got a third guy in the mix, so now it might be between McGloin and Jones. And I gotta tell you, I think Jones is looking good. I think that if O'Brien can work with Jones, McGloin's got a real fight for his position. And of course, this is just me kind of ranting on, and I'll be redoing this at a later date, probably tomorrow. But I like to get it all down here. I've got more to talk about tomorrow, so I'm just gonna wrap this up. I was just kind of testing the mic, see how it sounds, see what happens. Yeah.